Whiskey today. My name is Shannon. This is my YouTube channel, Whiskey and Wool. My Knitter's Life series, season 6, episode 5. Welcome. I am so happy you're here. I created this channel 8 years ago to get to know other knitters because I don't have a lot of knitter friends in my life. And I've since made friends through the channel, and it's been really awesome. So I'm deeply appreciative of my friends and my viewers, and I love the comments and back and forth that I have down below with you all, or with those of you who decide to comment. So yes, thank you and welcome. I'm going to talk to you today about my knitting projects and about my spinning. I have a spinning project that's nearly complete, but we're going to call it complete. I won't be showing it again until I'm knitting with it. And I have some contractor drama with my kitchen update. My goodness. I'm saving that to the end though, so that'll be after spinning. So if you have had your own contractor drama, or you want to know what the heck I'm talking about, I am I'm in the midst of a kitchen renovation in my 1-bedroom apartment. So it's a small spot, but I'll fill you in on all of that in a bit. So let's first talk about all the knitting and crafting that I've been doing. I have a finish. This is the Pines Pullover by Monica Christine, and I modified it. I am so happy with the way it turned out. I will say, I'm going to put a picture in here of me wearing it. My idea of styling sweaters is, picking a pair of jeans or trousers or a skirt out of my wardrobe and putting it together. I was on my way to work the morning that I took this picture, so just to give you an idea of how it's fitting, I think I paired it with wide leg, if I remember right, wide leg jeans, and that's it. I mean, I work on a university campus, so it's a fairly business casual setting, so yeah, be that what it may, I wear sweaters and trousers or jeans all winter. So I'm grateful for that. So this is the Pines pullover. So what can I tell you that I did different? I actually used a different pattern for the body, and then just inserted this center panel of cables, the variated cables. What really attracted me to this pattern was the cables getting thick and thin, and then you could see, like, when one column is getting thicker, the ones on either side are getting thinner. I just really liked that effect of cables, and so the pattern that I ended up knitting actually was the Ward sweater by Sloane Rosenthal. It was a sweater that I had made before. I made a few years ago out of Winsley worsted from La Bien-Aimée. And I was really happy with the fit. I love the fit of that sweater. It's a real boxy cut with a drop shoulder. This sweater is a slightly smaller than that sweater. It's slightly narrower and it's a little bit shorter. I was a little afraid of running out of yarn, because I only had 4 skeins of this super unique yarn from Wing and a Prayer farm in Vermont. So this is all I have left, about a mini skeins amount of the yarn. This is from a farm to skein. If you're not familiar with Wing and a Prayer, it's a farm to skein operation, and everything is done by Tammy except the spinning. I think the processing and spinning of the wool, she hand dyes it using natural fibers, or natural ingredients, natural dyeing, not chemical dyeing. And this is indigo dyed yarn, so it's got a real nice sort of coppery patina color. It's a little bit bluer. I would characterize this as a little bit bluer toned than true copper patina. It does have some, you can see it here in the sweater. It does have some variability in the color, in the shading. And I would characterize this particular yarn as a little bit, this is the Taconic twist. It's a little bit rustic feeling, a little bit natural. It's it's mohair, Wensleydale, Teeswater, and Cotswold blended together in what she called a sport weight. For me, it really knit more like a DK to even light worsted. Which if you have bought yarn in a farm to skein sort of setup where, I mean, Tammy White is the owner of Wing and a Prayer. The wool came from her sheep, and as I said, she's dyeing it, so she's dyeing the yarn as well. So, you know, if you're familiar with the farm to skein setups, often what they say the weight of the yarn is not exactly on par. It's usually a little thicker than what commercial weight yarn is. This pattern, Pines, was designed for a Aran weight. That was one of the reasons why I switched to the Ward. The Ward was designed for a worsted weight, and the gauge of what the Ward pattern said I needed and the gauge that I was getting when I swatched this yarn was on point. They matched. So I thought it would just be simpler for me to knit the Ward pattern, just inserting this center panel. And Ward also has a center panel. And it is, but the only difference is the construction, so that it is bottom up, not top down like the way the Pines is written. And I think I got a really nice fitting garment. The Ward does have narrower sleeves than the Pines does. But I don't mind this. Like this, you get the cable detail down here. The Ward does not have that. The Ward just has plain sleeves. And I just went ahead and inserted the cable repeat in the center, just like the Pines was. But I've been really loving it. I do wish I made this a little bit longer. I wish I made it the length that I made the Ward. It's probably off by about 1.5 inches, but as I said, I was worried that I would run out of yarn. I mean, it's perfectly wearable at the length that it is. So yeah, it's all good. All good. So yeah, that is my finished object. I do really like it. I love drop shoulder. I think it really, especially when they're well crafted, like this one seems like it's really well crafted. I think a little bit of a narrower sleeve takes care of a lot of like the extra weight issue that you get here. Also, this yarn seems to have a little bit more drape than the Wensley worsted does. So, or it's also that the Ward has different stitches. It has a textured stitch in the side, on the sides, on either side of this center front panel. And I think that makes the fabric a little stiffer. So this is a little bit more drapey. I'm not having any issues with like a lot of extra fabric in my armpit or anything like that. It's just very drapey. In fact, I think it looks pretty, considering how much extra ease there is, and you really can't see it till I put my elbows out. This has like a lot of extra ease, like probably 6 or 8 inches on either side, probably like 8 inches on either side, extra ease. So you really don't notice it though when I'm wearing it, that you can tell that there's some ease, but it doesn't look like it's all that much. But anyway, I would highly recommend the pattern if you are interested. Either one, really, if you like drop shoulder. I thought the Ward pattern is also super interesting. The textured stitches are really easy. There is a garter panel, I think in the center, if I'm not mistaken. I put all the info down in the description box if you're interested in seeing that. Okay, let's move on to whips. Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about Fatherland by Olga Putano. Let me show you where I am at. I have split for the sleeves. I have completed the color motif. I have modified this pattern as well. I am doing a cardigan. So I will be steeking up the middle, which is why you're seeing this gap in the rib neckline. And you're seeing lines in the center of this very center flower. I am using hand spun for this entire pattern. I hand spun this very bright neon yellow fiber with some natural white Cormo. You're not really seeing the color all that clearly. It's looking like more of a soft, bright but soft yellow on screen. It's really neon. So I have some footage here that I'll stick in as I talk about it. The contrast color is a hand spun as well. That is self-striping to some degree. It's a bit of a melange. So this hand spun that I am using in the sweater, you can see it's really colorful. It's got blues and pinks and purples and greens and gold. Really, really colorful. I made 2 skeins. I made it from about 200, maybe 210 grams of fiber from like a mixed fiber bag from Hedgehog Fibers. She sells, like, I think she calls them mystery bags or whatever, and sometimes she groups them by colors so you can kind of like brights or neutrals or things like that. I haven't bought fiber from her in a while, so I'm not really sure what she's doing these days. But I think at the time it was like a brights mix, and you just get like, short pieces, dribs and drabs of fiber that she had left over from, packaging up her fiber that she's dyeing to sell. So you can also buy fiber from her. She has fiber clubs and stuff like that, as well as yarn. She mostly does yarn. So that's why it's a bit of a melange. There is a mixture actually too of fiber type in there as well. As I said, I had 2 skeins. This one, I was knitting the yoke for a bit with this particular one, and I knit from the outside in, so I could see that I had a lot of dark sections coming up, so I decided to switch to this skein, which was more bright pink, and oranges. So somewhere along the way of knitting this yoke pattern, I switched. I think it was right around here. So I stopped knitting with that darker skein because I just thought, I'm just gonna have like a real dark flower, and although I didn't mind dark sections, I didn't want it to be completely dark. So I switched to the other skein, and I got a good section of like pink, and then it went to a little bit of green, and then it went to like this orangey pink, which I really liked. So this is of course unblocked, so all of the flower will open up quite a bit more once I block it. The plan is to add the motif that Olga had designed for the cuff. Like she has where you use that contrast color again in a pattern that's about 2.5 inches, and then you finish the cuff in that contrast color, just like the top of the pattern is. So this is all the contrast color. So my plan is to do that same pattern that she designed for the cuff, to put that on the bottom of the cardigan. So I'm going to knit a few more inches. I have about almost 3 inches here. So I'm going to knit probably another 2 to 3 inches, and then I'll start the color work for the bottom of the sweater. Yeah, I just think this is going to be so lovely. I'm really excited to have this. I need to decide if I'm going to do the contrast color on the front bands. I probably should, right? Because the cuffs and the bottom, everything will be that contrast color, so I should probably do the contrast color here too, right? Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think about that. I'm knitting on a US size 4, so 3.5 millimeter. And it feels really like the fabric just feels really, really tight. You can really see the striping with the natural yarn I have in there, or the natural fiber that I mixed in with the neon. But it's a really, denser than I expected for US size 4. So it must be just a good match between yarn thickness and needle size. And I can't remember, did I finish telling you that I had some neon? I ordered some neon. I think I ordered 300 grams of neon yellow, like bright highlighter neon yellow fiber that I then, for this, I still have some in my stash. I took about 75 grams of that and mixed it with about an equal amount, 75 grams of this natural white Cormo that I had in my stash. The yellow is merino, I believe, from Pancake and Lulu. She's a Jersey indie dyer who I made friends with during a Tour de Fleece a while back. So we talk back on each other's Instagrams and stuff like that. So yeah, this is why you're seeing a little bit of gradation in the color. Yeah, I like it though. It gives it some texture, like a real subtle texture. And I will definitely be spinning that yellow on its own as well. Just got the sniffles for a moment there. Sneezing fit. Okay, my other whip that I'm going to talk a little more in depth on is the Woven Check Shawl by Stephen West. I've made some progress since I last showed it to you. I think I was getting close to starting this dark brown section. This is also a mixture of hand spun and commercial yarn. Oh my gosh, I just tickled my nose. I brushed the edge of the shawl against my nose. So I have knit about maybe this much more. And this is a textured knit where you're knitting with two colors in a mosaic pattern. It is, you're meant to use a color changing yarn. So I have another hand spun, color changing hand spun. It's this right here. I only have one skein, and it's about 500 yards, a little less, I think like 480. When this is gone, the shawl ends. And then I'm pairing it with, this was my decision, this is a modification, I guess, to the pattern, I should say, because Stephen does do a color changing with a solid, but I chose my solid to be a lace weight yarn, and it's a mohair it does have mohair in it, but it's not a mohair silk. It has a lot of sparkle in it, and it is also applied yarn. So mohair silk is core spun, so it's a core of silk with mohair spinning around, which is why mohair silk is such a floofy yarn. This one is plied, so it's not quite as fluffy, but it has a lot of other stuff going on. It's got like floof. It definitely has a halo, but it also has a strong metallic thing happening. And this is by I bought it from Moondrake. I've never seen this type of yarn before. And it is what she calls her Kira base. So you can see there it's 35% mohair, 35% merino, 22% nylon, and 8% lurex. It is lace weight. The colorway is called Moon, and it's a pale blue. It's just a pale, soft blue. My hand spun is Hanaui, and silk, so it's a 70-30 Hanaui silk. I spun it during Tour de Fleece last year, so that is a spinning event that happens every summer during Tour de France, where they spin and we spin, kind of idea, and you get on a team and stuff. I don't want to get too in the weeds on it because I talked a lot about it last time, but I spun this during Tour de Fleece or shortly after, so last summer, from some fiber that I bought from Inglenook Fibers, which is a handful of nuns who do some dyeing, and they are located in Massachusetts, so they're a really great source for unique fiber and indie dyed fiber. And I didn't say this before. A viewer pointed it out on my last episode when I talked about this same project, that Hanaui is a breed, a sheep breed that is in New Zealand. So any US based or North American based, Canada, whatever, based supplier who has Hanaui or Hanaui, I think it's pronounced Hanaui, or Nui, I'm not sure. Don't beat me up in the comments on that pronunciation. They have imported the fleece from I think it's just one farm, a single farm, or maybe there's a couple farms now, but it's a pretty small flock from what I understand. But the farmers do sell their fleece to around the world, globally. But I'm not aware of that fleece being available in commercial yarn at all. So I think it's purely a something that us spinners get to experience. It's super soft and squishy, and having the silk content really just takes this to the next level. And I think I mentioned this last time, like, this fiber was twice what I would have paid for merino. It's very expensive because of the limited availability and the sort of niche that it occupies in the fiber market. So anyway, when that skein is gone, I will be done with this shawl. It's already a pretty decent size. It's probably like just a little bigger than a bandana right now, and I think I'm probably about halfway through. I'm gonna just check real fast. Oh, I still have more than half to go on this skein. I'm not quite to the halfway point, which is great, because I was worried that perhaps it wouldn't get all that much bigger. So I said it's a mosaic stitch, and you if you've made a Stephen West pattern, he's usually got some, where he's doing these unusual shapes. So with this particular one, you're knitting this way, even though you'll be wearing it this way. And when you're done, when you are at the point where you're like, this is as big as I want it to be, if you're not limited with yarn the way I am, you just bind off, and you're done with the project. And what you're doing is increasing on one side and letting the other side stay static. So this is the static side. Here has a little bit of a curl. And yeah, I wanted to be able to wrap around my neck at least once, so I am glad that I have more. However, because you're increasing every other row or so, and I'm increasing more than that because I really want this edge here that's in my, facing the top, the way I would wrap it around. I really want it to be long enough, and I'm a little concerned because the 500 yards isn't quite as much yarn as what Stephen recommends for the smaller size, I think. So, but this has just been, it's a bit tedious knitting those lace rows. You're only knitting with 1 yard at a time in true mosaic knit fashion, and it is 2 rows of the color changing yarn to 4 rows of the lace weight yarn or solid colored yarn according to the pattern. So the lace, it's slippery, and so those rows are a little slow, where when I get to the ones with the color changing, and they go real fast. But this has been fun. I actually thought when I cast this on a couple weeks ago, I thought to myself, oh, this is gonna take a real long time for me, like this is gonna take a while, but I'm I haven't grown tired of it yet, which is great, because I can grow tired of things sometimes and think that maybe I'm gonna set this aside for a little bit, but I haven't reached that point. I have one more whip. I really didn't make a lot of progress on this, to be honest. Like, I've been knitting on that cardigan, the Fatherland cardigan, by Olga Putano. So I really haven't knit too much, but I do think that I don't think I had the heel done on this sock that I'm knitting. This is the Andrea Mowry Bear Paw pattern that I've modified to use a smaller needle so that you get denser fabric. So I've just modified the stitch count for the sizes that I make. So the sizes that I make are women's shoe size 8. Me and my daughter-in-laws are all the same shoe size, so I can knit a pair of size 8 socks and decide later who to give them to, whether I'm going to keep them or give them away to one of my daughter-in-laws or, you know, other people. 8's a pretty common size for women. And I have also modified it for the shoe sizes of my sons. And my sons are a men's size 8.5, a men's size 10, and a men's size 13. So, and I've also done men's size 12 for my one son's father-in-law, whose place I stay at when I visit them. Because my son and daughter-in-law live with her father. Because he's alone in the world. She's an only child, blah, blah, blah. If you've been here, you know the story. And I will certainly talk about it again when I'm preparing to go visit them. So anyway, yeah, for this sock, these are actually for one of my daughter-in-laws. She had told me that she wore out a pair of socks that I knit her a few years ago, and she wanted to know what she should do or if she had cared for them wrong. And I said, no, it's just stuff that it happens. Like, don't feel precious about it. Like, make them into rags for cleaning or whatever you want to do with the socks, or, you know, cut them into cuffs or something. I don't know. Ankle, I don't know. Anyway, I don't have I could repair them, mend them, but I don't have the yarn anymore to do that. And she didn't really seem interested. And she's a crafty. She's probably my craftiest daughter-in-law. She has a lot of sewing. She's a sewist, and she didn't seem interested in learning how to mend, so it's fine. Anyway, I just said, don't be precious about them. I'll make you more. I have plenty of yarn to knit with. So, and someone asked me on my last episode when I talked about these socks, because this is kind of my go-to sock pattern. I love the forgiving nature of this rib knit, all over 2x2 rib knit sock. There were comments on my socks, which was super interesting. I always have socks on the go, almost always have a pair, and they take me forever because these are my, like, I really only knit on them when I leave, when I like leave the house and I'm away, like at a doctor's appointment or out and about, at my job, in an in-person meeting or in a Zoom meeting. If I'm home in a Zoom meeting, I've been knitting this because I'm in the stockinette, you know, mindless part. But so a couple people made comments on them. One wanted to know where the modifications are that I made. I have posted the modifications on my Ravelry project pages, but you probably need to scroll down a bit and find, I actually made the modifications for DK weight. This is fingering weight yarn, though, by the way, that I'm holding double for DK weight. It's on the DRK Everyday sock because after making a pair of DRK Everyday socks with fingering weight, I realized that I really liked a thicker sock. I just like to wear thick socks. So I figured out how to make the pattern and do the stitch count on a slightly bigger needle with DK weight. So there are notes. If you have the pattern, if you have Andrea's pattern, either the DRK Everyday sock pattern, or the Bear Paw pattern, you can figure out from my modifications, from what I posted on my modifications, how to knit the sock. It's not that hard of a sock pattern. I just was trying to be sensitive. I didn't want to share my entire recipe because I was trying to be sensitive to the fact that it is a paid-for pattern, and you know, Andrea did have the idea for it, and it is her sock pattern. So if you have her pattern and you want to try the modifications that I tried, you'll quickly figure it out. So there's detailed notes. You might just have to go back a little bit, probably a couple years, right around the time that she modified her, or that she published the Bear Paw pattern, maybe like 6 months before that. I had done the modifications and figured it out. So I was actually very excited when she produced the Bear Paw pattern, but she uses US size 4, 5 millimeter. I'm using 2.5 millimeter, and I just like that denser fabric for my socks. So, and then the other comment was about, oh, I don't think I told you the yarn. Sorry, I can't remember what the other comment was, but if it comes to me, I'll circle back to that. The yarn is from White Barn Farm, another farm to skein operation in upstate New York. And the colorway is Boysenberry stripe, and the yarn is Ramble 2-ply sock yarn, and it's Cormo, Corriedale, and nylon. So it's a real sock yarn. Okay. That brings me to spinning. So I finished the yarn that I talked about, or I'm practically done. I have 2 of the 3 skeins completed. And it's this gorgeous heathered, like sort of rainbow heather wool from I got the fleece from John Arbin. It is commercial top. I have 3 skeins total. This is 2 of the 3 skeins that have been washed and made into skeins. The third one's on my spinning wheel currently, and I'll probably finish it tomorrow. So for purposes of this, I'm going to call this project done. And if you don't recall, so last week or last episode, I showed the fleece. It was a natural with strips of blue, red, and yellow in it. And I said that I was probably going to end up with like a pink heather, which is exactly what I got. It's like a pale pink heather, and you can definitely see the yellow and blue in there as well. It's really lovely. It's really gorgeous, the color. It's like you get a lot of color variability as those fibers blended together. I have zero idea what I'm going to make with this. It did end up, I made a 2-ply, and I ended up with like I think I'm gonna have about 750 yards or so, around there, maybe a little more. We'll see how that lasts. That last skein will end up being a pretty fat skein because I've got the leftovers from the bobbins planned over there. So I mean, it's not quite enough to make an entire sweater, but it would certainly make be a fiber that could be put together with another yarn to complete a sweater, or like in a colorwork scenario, or color block or something like that. Or I might end up, I was thinking as I was doing the plying, I was thinking it might be a pretty vest or something like that. Slip over. We'll see. It is a bit on, you know, I'm not incredibly sensitive. I mean, this one feels a little prickly. I wouldn't want all my sweaters to be this prickly. I love that I have some soft ones. This feels similar to what I'm wearing. Maybe a little softer. It's an interesting blend, which I don't have in front of me. Let me see if I can just draw it up on my laptop here so I could tell you what it is. It's a blend of like 4 different sheep breeds, all English. So John Arbin is an English, here it is, an English mill, fiber mill, and I think it's in the Midlands area. I bought this fiber in 2021 in a virtual, every summer in the first week of June or so. John Arbin has a sale, what they call a virtual. They have a open house, and they do a virtual version of that, a virtual marketplace, just after the open house. In 2020 and 2021, because the pandemic was still going on, they did an entirely virtual event, and that was when I bought this. And this was when this fiber first came out. They first developed it. The colorway is called Quench, and the wool is 40% Devon Close wool, 40% Romney, and 40% or 20% Exmoor Blueface. It is. I watched Fruity Knitting recently when they interviewed the 2 women that own John Arbin, and they describe this. They make yarn mostly, but they sell their comb top. They describe this as more for outer wear, because they know that has a little bit rougher hand. And I'm sorry you're hearing a lot of maybe some side noise. I'm hoping my microphone isn't picking that up, but I have a nature video on, but some maintenance people just showed up and they're doing some maintenance, so if it's terrible, I will re-record. Also, there were kids screaming outside, like yelling, playing, like kids playing, but kids playing can be pretty loud, so I hope you aren't hearing that. Hopefully, like, the background noise is being limited in this recording. So, all right, we're now to the fun part about my kitchen contractor drama. So I don't have new footage to show you because nothing has happened in my kitchen since I broadcast 2 weeks ago. So therein lies the drama, which doesn't sound that dramatic, but I kind of had it out with him. Like, I went and looked for a new contractor because I was like, I am a side gig for this guy. He doesn't really freaking care about getting my job done. He came like in a 3-week period. 1 week he didn't show up at all, and the other 2 weeks he came for one afternoon for a few hours. And he told me in that whole time period from that first week on, oh yeah, we need the electric inspector to come and check out the status of make sure that the electric looks good. And you know how they are. And I'm thinking, no, I don't know how they are, because in my town, they say that if you make the appointment, they show up within 3 to 5 days. So what is he talking about? So every week it was like, so did you arrange for the inspector? Is the inspector coming this week? And every week it was like, yeah, no, they're not. Yeah, I haven't heard from them. But he didn't even go. That was what I found out, that he didn't even go. So I started looking for another contractor, and I found a person, and I asked him to come over and look at the work and let me know his time frame and his price and all of that. And in the meantime, my contractor's telling me, called me out of the blue one day. He wasn't here. He was, I don't even know where. And he said, oh, I'm at the clerk's office and I'm going to get the inspection this week. I was like, great. So you're finally doing that? So he was there on a Tuesday. The inspection happened on Thursday. So that's how fast the town comes. And so he just pretended like he used that as a shield, like their sloppiness, like, ooh, they're so sloppy, but they're not. They're actually not. They have their act together. He doesn't have his act together. So he's blaming them for the fact that he wasn't here. So those two things kind of collided, where I had another contractor come at the same time this inspector was coming to inspect the layout of the electric and make sure that everything's on track. I guess it's the first inspection. There's two inspections of electric, where you're midway through the project and then the final project. And I applied for an electric permit, and I applied for a plumbing permit, and I applied for a building permit, not really knowing what I needed. And it turned out I did not need a building permit and I did not need a plumbing permit, because the plumbing, nothing changed. He swapped out some pipes. You don't need a plumbing permit for that. That's something that any plumber can do at any time in your house whenever you need a repair. It's like it was the equivalent of repair. It wasn't a renovation. And then the building is for when you're building a new structure or you're replacing support walls, not what he did. Like, he's not replacing the support walls at all. All he was doing was tearing out the wallboard and putting up new wallboard. So there was basically nothing to inspect for the building. But he was trying to tell me the day that the electrician inspection happened, I waited till after that was done, because the other contractor had come and looked at the place and told me it was a Wednesday. He said to me, I can start Monday. I can do your bathroom, your kitchen, and renovate your closets in 3 weeks. I can have it all done. He goes, you just have to move out, which I was like, oh my God, I have to move out by Monday. So he's just like, you're going to have to move out because you can't live here with no bathroom. Fine, totally understandable. And it was not unexpected. It was what I expected. I just was like, what was unexpected was how quickly he could come in and do the work. So I got really excited about that. But he said to me, you have to terminate your other person. And he said, because you're halfway through the electric work, you should probably let him finish the electric work. See if he'll stay on the permit to finish the electric work. You don't need the other 2 permits. Even for what we're doing in the bathroom, it's not considered level. It's not going to reach the level of a permit. And even the electric work, we're not doing any electric work in the bathroom aside from swapping out a fixture and maybe moving a outlet from here to here, like 6 inches or less. So there's not really, it's an outlet that exists. We're not putting in anything new. So there's not really any need for permits for that job. And the closets you don't need permits for either. So I called my current contractor and I said, here's the story. You seem very busy and you seem like I'm a side job. I'm not your primary job. It's 6 weeks now that I'm living in this dusty, dirty environment because you haven't come in and finished this job. And it's something that shouldn't have taken more than 4 weeks, even with the inspections and all this other bullshit that you are telling me we need when we don't need them. And I said, and I want the bathroom done, and you haven't given me any price. I've been asking him about the bathroom since the beginning of January, and I said, you haven't talked to me about the price or the process or anything. So I said, so I wanted to know if you will just finish the electric, and I'm going to have this other contractor come in and finish the job, finish the kitchen and do the bathroom and closets and stuff. So, and he freaked out. He acted like, he was so wounded that I did this, and how could I have done this? It was really kind of crazy. And yeah, I ended up I went back to the new contractor and told him, I said, so he's not going to play ball. He wants to take his name off the permit completely. What do you think? And he said, you know what? It sounds like maybe you scared him and now he's going to work hard. So let him finish. He goes, what you need to do is close that. You need to close that permit, however you do it. Whether you go to the town and say, I fired the contractor and I'm starting over with someone new, and he said, and if you do that, it's going to be probably 2 or 3 weeks before we get the new permit and da-da-da-da. It could be a whole thing. He said, in that time, maybe your contractor will be able to finish the kitchen. And he said, even if he gets, we just need that permit closed. So if we can get to the point where he can close that permit, we're done. He goes, then you can say goodbye. And he said, I'll come in and finish anything that you have left from the kitchen, and I'll start the bath and work on your closets. And if you've been here a while, if you've been here since I moved in here almost 3 years ago. I'm short 2 months. I moved in here in 2023, so in May of 2023. If you've been hanging around, thanks so much for continuing to come back and watch whatever this is, and watch my, get my life updates and all of that. You will know that I was obsessed with getting those closets fixed up, because the closets are really untenable, like the way that they are. They just are, they're big spaces, really tall. I live in an apartment that has 9-foot ceilings, and the ceiling and the top of the door and the ceiling, it's about 2.5 feet difference. So it's so crazy. It's impossible to get things up on the shelf. You have to go in through this 6-inch wide section to put your things up, and so you can't put any boxes up there. You can only put soft squishy things up on that shelf, and then there's 2.5 feet of storage that I can't make use of. So my workaround for it has been to disassemble the top shelf, take apart part of the top shelf to create a space, a channel that my stuff can go in, up, and over. It's like Tetris. So I was explaining that to him. So he said to me, I got this. No problem. I can fix that for you. We'll put in bigger doors. He goes, we could do shelving. Like, we could do separate little doors on top, which was an idea that I originally had. Or we could do just big, tall doors. And he goes, if you just have a door that's within a foot of the ceiling height, you'll be able to access that top space and you'll have so much more storage. And I'm like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. So I'm so excited. He's going to do all that work for me, and it's going to all be done at the same time as he's doing the bathroom, like renovating my bathroom. My bathroom's really a mess. Like, it's really old. Like, the entire floor, almost every tile's broken. The back of the tub shower, I have a tub shower now. I want a full shower, no tub. The back wall has tiles that have shifted. I mean, I had a professional come in and regrout the tiles when I moved in. He looked at it and said he could regrout and it would last me for 5 years or so. And I said, perfect. I just need this to be usable while I figure out what I'm going to do. So that back wall does have some water damage. So he's going to gut the whole thing. And we'll get a chance to do whatever repairs that need doing for that space. So yeah, so I'm super excited. So that was my drama. I mean, this guy really gaslighted me though, just on so many things. Like, he thinks he's fooling me, and in my head, I'm just like, yeah, you're totally bullshitting me. Like, when I first told him I wanted the bathroom done, he said, oh, you're going to need to get an architectural plans. But it's just his way of, like, delaying me, like putting a roadblock in. I mean, he did the same thing to me on the kitchen. I never should have hired him. I should have realized, because, like, he did the same thing to me. I actually started to talk to him in February of last year about doing the job. And he first said, oh, you need to find a kitchen designer to do your plans. Like, don't try to do it yourself. Just use my person. So he put me together with this person, and she seemed like she took forever, but she finished at the end of May. So at the end of May, I had the plans, and I had a price, and I had all the things I needed. I put down a deposit, and I waited from like June all the way to January, 6 months for this guy to get his shit together, to get in here and start the work. And then he does this to me. I shouldn't be surprised, right? So if I probably didn't do anything and I didn't threaten to fire him, I'd probably be sitting here till June or July waiting for him to finish that fucking kitchen. Like, really, guy? That's no way to run a business. And I really don't understand, like, how he makes a living. Like, I know what I'm paying him, and it's not enough for him and his workers to live on for more than a month. So I understand that he probably, has multiple jobs, but my God, like, you're here. Like, if it's not a genuine pause, like, you sheetrocked and the sheetrock, spackle needs to dry for a couple days, what are you doing? By the way, he hasn't sheetrocked at all. Those walls are still open. They've been open for weeks. My cats get in there and play in the plaster dirt, dust, and it's horrible. I'm really over it. And I thought I would have a kitchen by now. I thought I was going to have a kitchen last June or July at the latest, but, silly me. But anyway, it sounds like I have someone who's really going to work their ass off and is going to get in here and do the job. Get in and get out and finish everything for me. So I'm very, very happy about that. That's my drama. I've picked out everything that I need for the bathroom. I don't have a clue about the closet doors, but apparently this contractor has a really firm idea of what I should be using. So I'm gonna follow his lead, and he'll give me some ideas, and then I can shop around for what it is I want. But I do have to move out for a few weeks, which is going to cause me a little stress, a lot of stress maybe, because I have 2 kitties, which you probably saw clips of, and I need to find a place where I can live with them. So I think I've landed on this idea of staying with I have 2 close friends, my dearest friends, both have homes in the east end of Long Island, which is the Hamptons beach area. It's beautiful out there. It's very wealthy, but it's also like, there's also affordable areas. So I mean, one of my friends is incredibly over the top generous with her time. Oh, they're both generous people, with her time and her, her support and stuff. So either one of them they both shared with me that I could stay at their beach houses, anytime. So the only drawback, so that's awesome. The drawback is that, I am not 100% sure I can work fully remotely whenever this lands. So if my current contractor really finishes by, say, the end of March, which, my God, that'll be 10 weeks to get a kitchen done. 10 weeks. Ridiculous. Ridiculous time frame for a project this size. So if he really can finish in 3 weeks, it'll be like through April. So figure like 3 to 4 weeks of April. There's going to be some days where I have to, I'll have to be on campus. I'll have to come to work. So I either need to hire a cat sitter. I either need to do an up and back, like drive out. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive. It's probably 3 hours to drive from either one of their houses to campus. Maybe a little faster. And back. So I'll have to drive out, like leave at like 6 in the morning to make it to campus for whatever in-person event I have. And then head back out there when the event's over, or come in, hire a cat sitter out there, which I'm not sure I can do. I'll have to look for that. Or bring them with me and stay overnight. It's going to depend on the timing and what events I have where I need to be on campus. So I'm sort of like, well, for $2,000 I could rent a place and stay with them. So that's another option, but I'm going to try to save that money, so that I could use that for other things, other parts of the construction and stuff, and then maybe just spend in smaller increments, like just a couple nights here and there where needed. And I think that might work better. So that's my tale of woe, my contractor woe. I'm sure some of you have your own horror stories about that, related or similar. It's because I'm sure it's not uncommon, but my God, I should have known. I have one last thing. So if you made it this far, excellent. So the yarn that I knitted this sweater out of, it turned out, I remember when I bought it. So I bought it in I guess. I have Ravelry open. Let me look. I want to say I bought it in 2023. But let's see. None left in stash. I bought it in 2023 at Rhinebeck, 2023. And when I brought it home, I was moving yarn around because I like to group my stash by color. And I realized that I had very similar yarn in my stash. So that's this. This is also by Wing and a Prayer. This is also Taconic Twist. It is a little bit greener. It is also indigo dyed. It's a little bit greener. This has got a little bit more of a blue tone. I hope you're seeing that. And this yarn is older. It is... about this. So I bought this from Virtual Rhinebeck in 2020 from Tammy, and it was probably before Tammy really got good at doing her so this is the tag for it. Before she really got good about her record keeping and stuff. So it's also Taconic Twist, and it is she calls it a 2-ply sport. And then she didn't delineate really what the wools were. I guess she did down here at the bottom. So let me just see if I can get this to focus. So yes, Wensleydale, Cotswold, Teeswater, Cornwall. Right, okay. And then, but up here on the tag, she wrote 60% wool, 40% mohair. So it definitely has that blend. But I think it might be a little bit I don't know, it has a little bit different feel, and I think it may be the dyeing of it. Like this actually feels a little stiffer. Like I feel like there's dye in this, like more dye in this. This did bleed quite a lot when I blocked it. And I just let it soak and soak until the water ran clear. But anyway, why am I telling you about this? Because I certainly do not need a second sweater made out of very similar yarn, and I thought I would do a giveaway. So I want to give this yarn away. I have 4 skeins of it. It came to me like this, caked. I didn't cake it. Tammy shipped it to me caked. I will also, full disclosure, tell you that 2 of the skeins are labeled differently. Well, actually, 1 skein has no labels. It came this way. I didn't lose them. So the other skein says that it is Taconic Twist, but it's 75-25, and it says that it's got the Cotswold. Oh my gosh, can you please focus? Cornmeal. But it doesn't talk about the Winsley, but it feels practically the same. So I think this is just more a Tammy's record keeping wasn't quite as good as it is now kind of thing, and she was trying to keep everything in her mind, because these were very definitely sold as a set, so they are very definitely all the same yarn, and it's a total of 1,040 yards. I will ship this to you wherever you are. Hopefully, if you're from overseas, I'm not going to spend an arm and a leg getting it to you, but to get a chance to win, use the yarn emoji in your comment below. You can say other things as long as there's a yarn emoji in there. I'm going to count you among someone who is interested in having the yarn. It does say it's sport weight. Again, it knitted for like a DK weight for me, but this should be, it's certainly enough. I had the same yardage to do this. You would have enough if you're close to my size. You'd have enough to make this sweater if you wanted, or anything that you want. You could do whatever you want with yarn that is a gift. So I wanted to share that with my viewers, because also I got a whole bunch of new viewers lately, and I really think partly I think it's because I've been posting a little more, but also whatever I'm doing seemed to have attracted viewers, so I'm so happy that you're here. I got about another 60 or so viewers in the last couple weeks, so welcome. I hope you like what you see and continue to come back and participate in any conversations that you feel like participating in. So this is just my way of saying thank you to everyone, for those of you who've been here for a long time and those of you who are brand new and everyone in between. Yeah, just a little thank you and a little giveaway for the channel. So yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing more with you in the coming weeks. I am due a cast on for sure, since I cast off something. I'm going to give it a little rest, so I maybe have a cast on with me next week. We'll see. But definitely within the next couple weeks, I'm going to be casting something new on. We'll just see how my current projects go. But for now, I'm going to sort of just stick with those 2 main projects, and then the sock will continue to be on the side. I hope I finish those soon. But anyway, hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoy what is left of the weekend and the week, and I will see you again real soon. Take care. Bye.